Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mels Gaming here with another Way of the Hunter video. Now yesterday a brand new species was added to Way of the Hunter here on Tikamoon Plains, and that new species, as I talked about actually in the very last video I posted, is the Eland. Now we had been shown a bit of a teaser picture which was very clearly a silhouette of an Eland, and I was very excited hoping that it wouldn't be long until they released, and sure enough yesterday they made their way here to Tikamoon Plains, and after a little bit of a struggle to actually get them to show up in my game, because initially I went and I drove the entire map and didn't see a single one, didn't find any zones. I had to uninstall the game and reinstall the game, and then finally these guys showed up. Funny enough, I actually, where I'd left my character, when I then respawned in and changed the time, I had a herd of Eland literally spawning right beside me. So I know I was in the right spot and they just weren't spawning in. So if you have that issue, might be worth, you know, uninstalling your game and reinstalling it. There's been some weird issues with the Eland. We're going to talk all about that in this video. We're also going to hunt down 2 5-star matures. Now, we're starting off with this guy, who actually isn't even on the private land. Now, in terms of distribution for Eland, they are kind of in small groups all over the place, really. But I tend to have luck sort of more to the left-hand side of the map was where I was finding more, really. And that's where I found these guys, sort of left side of the map about halfway up. And I saw this guy was a 3-star, then he became a 4-star, and finally a 5-star. So we're going to call him in, we will shoot him, and then we'll take a look at the models and discuss everything about that. But, I mean, some seriously impressive horns and just an incredible looking tank of an animal on his way in there. But yeah, so if you especially are on like Steam, which is the issue this is the platform I play on, and I had this issue. Like I said, I didn't have the Eland actually on my map after the update had taken place, it seemed. So I did a whole reinstall and that then got them on my map. And I know a couple of other people seem to have issues with them appearing. So just do bear that in mind, that if the update doesn't seem to like work, try a fresh install and see if that works. But there's also been some other issues with the Eland, and it's a little bit unfortunate. It's not really known exactly what's causing some of these issues yet, but we do know that the information that's given in the Encyclopedia about the score for 5 stars is not lining up with the actual scores that 5 stars are currently making. So it seems to, I don't know whether it's like just wrong in the Encyclopedia and like the Eland scores are right as they are and it just needs to be rewritten in the Encyclopedia or what. But that's going to surprise us in a second. But also this happened when I shot my first 5-star Eland. We got charged by a very angry Gemsbok and just managed to get it right there before it actually managed to kill us. So that's definitely going to be made into a clip. That was a little bit of panicked shooting there. I really wasn't expecting that. I do enjoy that about Way of the Hunter, that basically any animal can charge you now. I really do like that, just occasional surprise. Like, it really caught me off guard, and then I just had to make some quick shots to take that guy down. But as you will have seen, the Eland really did not go that far from where we shot it. We were using the 338 Lapua, which is my preferred rifle for these guys, and I was going for a heart shot, and I had actually only shot one before this. I wasn't entirely sure exactly where the heart was, so I was kind of going sort of centre of the chest, but with that thick, huge neck, and that big dewlap, which you can see there, it can be a little bit hard to kind of line up, like, into the centre of the chest. But overall, I was pretty pleased with how the models were looking. Like, they look pretty darn good. Unfortunately, obviously, the hair textures are a little bit weird, as we are kind of used to with longer-haired animals in Way of the Hunter. But it looks really good, and the detail on the horns looks really good. So overall, a really nice model with some very good detail. Now, taking a look at that shot, little bit low, like skimming along the bottom of the lung and just along by the heart. So the heart actually did get some damage there, but you can see, could do with being a little bit higher up, but obviously, like I said, that big thick neck and dewlap can sort of skew your perspective a little bit as to where the organs actually are. So I would recommend just aiming a little bit further up than I did there. Now, actually taking a look, it's an 88.87% male, and obviously a 5-star mature. Really, really happy to get my first 5-star and him to be on the public land of Tikamoon, not up in the private land. The private land is the place to go for Eland, as you can imagine. You know, the private land always has better genetics regardless of what map you're on. So hunting in private land, especially for species that's their primary habitat, it's just an absolute 5-star paradise. But to get, you know, my first 5-star actually off of the public land, as I said, sort of on the middle part on the left side of the map, was really cool. Now, taking a look at the score, 454. Now, I believe in the Encyclopedia it's currently listed that the minimum, like, requirement score for a 5-star for Common Eland is actually 470. So, like I said, some unusual things there. Like, that lines up for what I expected with those genes, but it's not what it said in the Encyclopedia, so kind of interesting. But again, really, really impressive horns. Nice, like, twists as, you know, as we go up the horns. And then something to pay attention to, because as I did mention, there are 2 5-star Eland in this video, and they both have very different horn sets. This guy's horns flare slightly outwards towards the tips, so bear that in mind. But just look at how much of a tank this animal is. Like, Eland are tanks, and this is why I was so excited to see a hunting game finally add them. Like, they are just giants, absolute giants. And for the mature males, I'd say the models are pretty darn good. I think the only thing is the face feels slightly off to me. I'm not sure if it's maybe a little bit short, but it just feels slightly off. Something about it. But I tell you what feels off the most is that you'll see young males, or even like 1-star adults, so, you know, just into the adult stage. And they've got those big dewlaps and, like, the big muscly bodies that they really don't look like that when they're young. Like, I've seen, actually, young Eland in the wild, young male Eland, and they don't have those big pronounced dewlaps. So seeing a 1-star youngs and, you know, just barely adults with the very pronounced, like, older male features is really, really weird. Now, here we have our second 5-star, and this guy I knew was going to be a lot bigger, and I'll tell you why in a second. But at this point, I didn't realise that I'd picked up the wrong gun. And it was only because I briefly saw the name and went, oh, this actually isn't the 338, that I was kind of like, okay, what do I do? Because I've now got this guy coming right into the call. So I basically decided, okay, this is a tier 5 weapon. Let's test it with a similar shot to the shot that we just took on that first ball, and see if it actually manages to take him down at that close range. Because we know these animals are tanks, and it was kind of alluded to that anything other than really strong weapons wasn't going to be able to bring them down. And as you can see, that bullet just didn't do anything to this guy. So that ended up being an unintentional test, but quite interesting. You are going to want to use your tier 6 weapons, and I would recommend the 338 for these guys. It's just, the 338 for me is the go-to for big, tough game. 338 Lapua is just so good. And that's what we will use for the second shot for this guy, and then we'll compare, like, the difference between a tier 5 weapon and this, obviously, being a tier 6. But, yeah, you can see that this guy's horns are very different to the first 5 stars. They actually have, like, curls going further up the horns, like they twist further up, and the like tips are going inward rather than flaring outward. And in the lodge, the difference was quite obvious as well, which is always really nice because, you know, more trophy variety is always brilliant. And for a big mature bull, like I said, this model is pretty great. I'm honestly really quite happy with it. Like I said, maybe just some changes to the face, but I really wish they could somehow change the models for the youngsters, because seeing a young bull with a huge G-lap for an Eland, just, it looks so bizarre to me. As you can see, 338 did a number on this guy, dropped him on the spot, exactly what we would hope for. And it's also interesting seeing the new blood markers. I haven't, you know, played since those got added, so interesting. But yeah, some like extra twists to these horns, and they just looked bigger. Now, I had an inkling this guy was going to be bigger, because he was actually a 4-star adult, which seems to be a thing right now, quite possibly a bug, and then a 4-star mature, and then a 5-star for 2 cycles. So I knew he should be quite big. But yeah, taking a look at the Steyr Pro Hunter, which is a 7mm08 Remington, it is a tier 5 weapon, and it's a Steyr weapon. Literally, it's not far away from the 338 in the listing, which is why I accidentally clicked it instead of the Steyr 338. But you can see, it wasn't a particularly great shot. It should have been a little bit higher, again. That chest still needing to adjust a little bit and go higher than perhaps you think. But it didn't even get anywhere. Like, even at, like, 33 meters or whatever it was, that shot just didn't pen. So, again, I would highly recommend using only the very biggest weapons on these guys. And, like I said, that wasn't intentional, but I knew I could get another shot on this guy. So, yeah, an interesting test. 991.04 kg as well. Just a monster of an animal. Obviously a 5-star. 96.3% on the genetics, which, considering how it went through the age cycles, I wasn't surprised by. However, I was surprised by this 465 score. Because as far as I know, when I shot him, he was, I think, right at the end of, like, his life. I may have been 1 year off. 1 year, perhaps, like, just one. Because, again, hard to tell when you have an animal that goes to, you know, 4-star adult. Like, that used to be a thing with the Western moose, and it turned out to be a bug, and they should have been mature at that stage. But then the next cycle he went 4-star mature, and then I believe he was 4-star mature again, and then 5-star. And I took him on that second time, if I remember correctly. So, I don't know. But very clearly, something's still wrong, because again, the Encyclopedia says 470 is the minimum, and we have quite a large example here, and we're only getting a 465 score, which is way below that technical minimum, according to the Encyclopedia, so something's off. The devs have been made aware of it. I reported it myself, and was talking to a number of people in the Discord about it last night, which is why I was kind of paused on this screen for a bit, I was, like, typing in my findings. And, yeah, a number of people have seen 4-star adults, which doesn't seem to be something that should be happening. So, looks like the Eland are a little bit buggy right now, so if you do go and shoot a 5-star, and it's got a score that doesn't line up with what you're expecting, that's probably why. Really unfortunate that finally we get a interesting update for this game with a new species, and they end up being bugged. Also, I haven't seen a single rare posted for these guys. None at all. Doesn't mean there isn't any, maybe they just are extremely rare. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of them on a map at any given time, from my experience. Like I said, they're kind of spread out in small groups across most of the map. Like I said, the left side is my particular favourite area, and particularly, obviously, the Raptorus Refuge private land in the far north left corner is the hotspot if you're wanting a high genetic Eland. But yeah, really unfortunate that they've come out bugged. I stopped hunting after getting 2 5 stars and being like, okay, it definitely seems like these guys have some issues. So, yeah, we do technically have 2 really cool 5 stars for the lodge, which is really, really nice. Really wish they had some rares. Like, I would try so hard to get a rare 5 star for these guys if they had them, but it doesn't currently look like they do. Or maybe they do and it's not working correctly. Who knows? Because they're definitely bugged right now. But, very cool to see a hunting game adding Eland. And I'm going to be probably doing 1 or 2 more videos on Way of the Hunter in general soonish. So I know I've recorded a couple of clips when I was doing this yesterday as well for future videos, so that'll be fun. And I look forward to seeing what else they come out with next. But that is going to be it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. If you're going and hunting the Eland, wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.